Do we
We've got
have,
Gina, we've got Vernon,
Yes,
we've got me, so
I'm
we've got
here.
quorum.
We have
oh, where's
quorum.
Gina? Oh, Gina's on phone. I didn't see
Gina's
that.
on the
Hi,
phone, yep.
Gina.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Good. All right.
Good.
Who is not, Belle, who has not arrived yet that confirmed?
Dahan.
Okay.
I thought we also had Michael confirmed.
And Michael was confirmed too. So Dahan and
Okay.
Michael.
Okay.
Okie doke.
Well, Tyler, it's quarter after, so maybe we
Yeah,
should.
let's
to it.
let's get this show on the road. Belle, are you recording?
Yes, yes, we're recording.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tyler Richard Hughes, and I'm the chair of the City of San Diego Commission for Arts and Culture Advocacy and Outreach Committee. I'm calling this meeting to order. We're going to do a quick roll call to confirm commissioner attendance. When I call your name, please unmute yourself and say present. Commissioner Dahan Blevins, Commissioner Michael Brown, Commissioner Vernon Frank,
Present.
and Commissioner Gina Jackson.
Present.
Thank you very much for your attendance. It has been noted. Also joining us today is Commission for Arts and Culture staff, including Executive Director Jonathan Gluss, Chief of Civic Art Strategies Christine Jones, Project Manager Belle Reza, as well as representatives of the Office of Boards and Commissions and the City Attorney's Office. Good morning to you all. Before we get to today's agenda, I'm going to call on Belle Reza to run down some of the guidelines for today's meeting. Belle?
Good morning, everyone. I think everyone's starting to get familiar with the Zoom webinar feature, but just a couple of quick reminders. In an effort to provide greater accessibility, members of the public may join the meeting as webinar attendees in order to provide virtual, non-agenda, and agenda comment in real time. Committee members, city staff, and authorized presenters are attending the meeting as panelists, and the meeting will function for them identically to a typical Zoom meeting. As a refresher, please note the buttons on the control bar at the bottom of the Zoom window. Camera icon to activate your video, microphone to mute and unmute. Please remember when you speak to use the chat window to signal when you'd like to speak, make a motion. We do recognize there's a hand raising function. However, we request that you type speak instead of using that. And Chair Hughes will call on you on the order received.
Great, thank you, Belle. All right, we're going to move on to non-agenda public comment. Public was invited to submit public comment on agenda and non-agenda items via web form accessible through the Commission's website. Members of the public may also join this meeting as webinar attendees. If members of the public have submitted comments in writing via the web form, Belle, would you please read those aloud? Submitted per city comment protocol. And
sorry.
Do we have anything?
We do not have anything written, but to those members of the public in attendance, please click the button to raise your hand to indicate that you would like to comment. We will enable you to speak and send you a prompt to unmute yourself in order. When I call your name, please state your name for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to provide comment, after which you will be placed on mute again. If you're joining via phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. I will call on you by the last 4 digits of your phone number. When I call on you, please press *6 to unmute yourself. Please raise your hand now if you'd like to provide non-agenda public comment. And seeing none, Chair Hughes.
Great. All right. Thank you all. We're going to move on. Want to make up some time. We're going to go through the chair's report. First, I wanted to talk about advocacy strategy. So the first step is I'm going to be sending introductory packets to all city council members and their chiefs of staff. We want to make them aware mainly of the heat map as an introduction to all of the commissioners through our bios, the ones that are listed on the website, and just lay out who we are and what we're doing. I'd like to thank staff for putting that together. It's a really professional looking packet, and I think that's going to be very helpful to send out. With that in mind, talking about advocacy strategy for this year and beyond. Jonathan, can you take us through what we're looking at for FY22?
Sure, Tyler. Just to clarify, are you referring to calendar?
Sorry, fiscal 22. No, I'm talking about calendar. I'm talking about upcoming cuts. I'm talking about anything we're facing for the.
Sure, absolutely. Yes.
Year.
Thank you. So just as a reminder, I think everybody's aware that overall the calendar is that this month, January, internally, we start doing submitting preliminary proposals for FY22. There is an internal review process led by the Chief Operating Officer and the Director of Finance. That review process happens January, February, excuse me. The first round of budget becomes public more or less in March, with a revised budget April, May, final approval by City Council late May or sometime in June. So that's the general calendar. This year, as of with everything else right now, is unusual in that there are three variables. Number one is the city doesn't know if we'll be receiving federal stimulus funds. We have a good sense that we will receive a second round of federal monies. If those come in, it would very likely, we would receive the monies well into the budget review process. So right now, early budget development is based on the assumption that there is no federal funding coming. With that understanding, we will be asked to submit a proposed FY22 budget that is 12%, that has a 12% cut on the FY21 budget. So again, right now the assumption is no federal funding. I'm trying to think very quickly, Tyler, if there's anything else. That's really where we are right now.
Okay. If we do get some small business relief, if federal funds, I saw that $1.9 trillion is potentially coming from the federal government, and we do get some dedicated small business relief, what steps can we take to ensure that our nonprofit arts partners are eligible for that? Because that's not been the case in the past. And I think there's sometimes a misunderstanding of what arts and culture organizations are. They are small businesses, first and foremost. Even our largest arts organizations would be classified as small businesses. So what can we do to ensure that the city understands that and opens up that pool to our partners?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We did look at the criteria, and even our very largest organization does qualify for as small business. You all need to, well, I should say firstly, the first round of funding did not, that was directed to small business, did not include nonprofits, and in particular, for our purposes, nonprofit arts and culture organizations. This would be the time that you would make a request or a recommendation to electeds. You can certainly do it through, to begin with, through staff. So you could ask for a formal ask for staff to research and come back to you. You can also bring a formal recommendation to the full commission that could be sent on through the mayor's office.
Well, keeping that in mind then, my fellow commissioners, I think it's best if we ask staff to come back to us with a report on what it's going to take to get small business funding allocated to, or the pool opened up to our small businesses. Jonathan, Gina, Vernon, Gina, any thoughts?
I think that should definitely be an option for sure.
What's the issue, Tyler?
It's so if there is relief that comes from the federal government and is issued out of the city of San Diego, then for small businesses, dedicated small business relief, we want to make sure that the city opens the pool wide enough to include nonprofit organizations, specifically our nonprofit organization.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't know when and if we'll be talking about this, but artists, individual artists and arts organizations are indeed small businesses in the eyes of the rest of the world, certainly by our counterparts in Europe, specifically in France. And so the models there show that they support them financially as a struggling small business in the pandemic. So for what that's worth.
Then I would like to, and maybe John Dwyer, you can pipe in here. Do we need a formal motion to request this of staff, or seeing that this is the prerogative of this committee, we can just direct staff to report back to us on this?
I think you can just direct staff. I don't think you need a formal motion.
Brilliant. Well, Jonathan, we'd like staff to please dive in deep on this one. We'd like to take it to the full, I think once we get some information back, I recommend that we take it to the full commission and have a formal motion urging the city to if and when we get funding, to make sure that our constituency is included.
That's great. Happy to. We'll either have that for the full commission meeting later in the month, or we'll bring it to the February advocacy committee meeting.
Brilliant. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to note that I know City Council budget priority memos have come out. If you are feeling a bit restless and need help falling asleep, you can read all 103 pages. It's on the city's website. Happy to note that 6 of the 9 City Council members specifically called out arts and culture funding, either to get it back to pre-COVID levels, or, and this is even more more encouraging, get penny for the arts as a line item in the city structure were called out. There were 3 that did not include us though. That was districts, I've got it written here. It was districts 5, 6, and 9. Jonathan, maybe just because we're on the record here, and hopefully city council staff reviews these, what are we doing in those specific districts, 5, 6, 9, that we can go back to those city council members and say, hey, we should be a priority to you because we're an economic engine, we are a keeper of culture, we are a dedicated part of the city, a $1 billion industry, and keeping people employed.
Thank you, Tyler. So a couple of thoughts on that. And I'm going to ask Christine to weigh in if I've missed anything as well. Our mapping project, which, as you know, is wildly popular with elected officials as well as the field to better understand the reach of the commission's investments. That tool will be updated probably within the next month. We have to work on IT department's schedule, but they're eager to get year 2 updated. So we'll have that that we can share at the February meeting. And that is going to demonstrate in detail how we reach every one of these city council districts. In addition to that, excuse me, staff is working right now in City Heights. In fact, I don't know if Rick Bollinger is still on the line here. Rick, are you still with us? No, he jumped. Okay. So IT department, library department, and arts and culture are all working together to develop a business plan to relaunch the City Heights Library Arts Annex as an outdoor amphitheater. Ultimately, the idea is it would be a fully functioning amphitheater that would reflect the City Heights neighborhood programmatically, but also be an outdoor venue for our arts and culture, our performing arts organizations. And we're also looking into, there's space there that we can actually build out a creative youth development program that utilizing all of the broadcast tools that are at that site. So it could be a really wonderful workforce development, job training type opportunity in creative businesses.
That's great.
So that we have an outside consultant who was hired through the library with some generosity from the Price Foundation. So they're working on that business plan right now. So that could really reanimate that anchor site in City Heights, which would be very exciting.
Yeah.
And then as far as public art projects, Christine, do we have any anticipated public art projects in those neighborhoods or those districts?
So we do. We have public art projects in the majority of council districts throughout the city. So that also includes Council District 6. We have a project associated with the Mira Mesa Park capital project improvement. So that's happening right now. And it's a really exciting project. In addition, we have in Council District 9, which is the very southern tip of Council District 9, we have a Fairmont Fire Station project. So we have 2 projects in 3 of those council districts, along with public art projects all over the city. So there's a lot to highlight there as well.
Thank you for that. That's very
And
encouraging.
we'll have SD practice that is being installed in public buildings in all the council districts and Park Social.
That's true. Yeah, there is so much going on, and it's really going to be spread all throughout the city. So it's pretty exciting for all the council districts to be aware of.
Awesome. I see Vernon would like to make a comment. Vernon, please.
Just following on your comment about activating a space at the library, I just want to remind folks that this is something we've discussed in the past. I have advocated over the years to consider each and every library branch in the city as a potential gallery space or space to host the collection, our civic art collection, and whatever else could be done to activate the collection in specific communities. And so just repeating that, we have de facto potential art spaces at every single library site in the city.
Excellent. Thanks for that reminder. And that's a very good point.
Tyler, if I could quickly just respond to that. Thank you, Vernon, for the reminder. As you know, that's part of the work with installing SD practice is understanding in detail all of the public facilities in the council districts. We're going to have to, because we have 100 pieces, we're going to be installing artwork in so many of the buildings.
Hopefully
Here's
in one
one.
place too.
Sorry, Vernon.
Hopefully in one show altogether at some point. I don't know if that's possible because of what's going on today, but it would be beautiful to have that collection shown en masse before it gets all split up.
Would you mind bringing that to the conversation at the full retreat next week? Because we're struggling with that right now, whether or not that's the highest, best use of our funds. So I think that's an important thing for you all to talk about.
Got it.
Just the other thing too, this is a great example of how staff is navigating this budget. I hate to use the word crisis, but this budget crisis this year. The library is also going to have to take a 12% budget cut, which could severely impact not just librarians, but their capacity to even have staff to work with us to install shows. There's a possibility that the gallery downtown may have to limit exhibitions programming entirely because of budget cuts. So just a little bit of context, every department is starting to impact. We're at such a thin line of resources right now. Every department is impacting the other department because they don't even have the staff to work with us.
Well, that's sobering, but it's exciting to hear that about City Heights. I can think of a few of our nonprofit ecosystem organizations, including Trinity Theater and Digital Gym, that would both be ideal partners for using that space. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So I look forward to us, bringing attention to those 3 city council members and drawing their eyes there. When I write letters to the council members and their staff, I will encourage them to look forward to the heat map, the updated heat map, and to really review their districts because they just may not be as aware. Unless there's anything else on advocate strategy, I'm going to move on to reprogrammed arts funds. This was discussed in policy and funding. There were several organizations that were unable to use their award for the current fiscal year. And so we have $270,000 that is available for reprogramming. And the idea is that we will have 18 new awards that will be available, and already approved partners, already funded organizations are going to be able to request these new funds through a truncated panel process. But we have a short time horizon to get City Council to reapportion these funds to us. So that's coming up. I believe, Jonathan, it's the 26th is the targeted City Council meeting date, correct?
Christine, have we gotten confirmation yet?
I'm still waiting for confirmation, but it'll be either that date or the one right after. So we'll be able to confirm that soon.
Great.
Thank you.
So our goal is to reach out to City Council and urge them to make this change. Since these are already approved funds, they're already in our pool. This is a way for us to be nimble in making new grants available to all of our funded organizations. Any questions? Great. And I am going to move us right along. Let's move on to Executive Director's report. I'm going to invite Belle to read any public comment or request any public comment from public listening on the Executive Director report.
Perfect. To those members of the public in attendance, please click the button to raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to comment, and I will enable you to speak. If you're calling by phone, please press *9 to raise your hand. Chair Hughes, I see none.
Okay. Then Jonathan, please take it away.
Thank you, Tyler. I'm actually going to turn it right over to Christine to give us an update on the impact numbers.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan. So first of all, Happy New Year, everyone. It's nice to see everybody. So yes, I'm going to share a summary of some of the 2019 data that that is coming from some of the data arts profiles for organizational support program organizations that were contracted in fiscal year 2019. So let's go to the next slide if we can. Okay, so you're all very familiar with this. So this is really to show and illustrate some of the numbers associated with really impact, both the economic, social impact of organizations that are city funded. So let's go to the next slide. So basically the numbers are stacking up pretty well in terms of impact, both economic, in terms of operating revenues, contributed revenues, as well as workforce. So this slide essentially is showing the economic numbers. Again, this is for organizations that were contracted in fiscal year 2019 through OSP program. So you'll see that all the numbers in this category are up as of fiscal year 2019. So obviously these are pre-COVID numbers, so just keep that in mind when looking at them. But at that point in time, the total expenditures, again, the operating revenue, contributed revenue, and then the workforce, either the job numbers as well as the salaried, the amount for salaries paid were all up. If you can see that there was this kind of a steady climb from fiscal year 2017, 18, and then 19. So I think those numbers look pretty strong at that point in time. Let's go to the next slide. So in addition, one of the other kind of number sets that's looked at and pulled are numbers associated with engagement, and specifically volunteers, admissions, and boards. So you'll see here that volunteers were actually a little down from the previous year. But at the same time, board members were up. So, I think there's probably some evolution or shifts from year to year. You'll see that it looked like in fiscal year 2017, volunteers were at a little over 12,000 and then up and then back down. So there might have been an anomaly in 2018. It's hard to tell exactly, but there is some fluctuation in those numbers. And then the big number that it just seems to continually be going up are the number of people served in terms of free or paid admissions to city funded organizations. So you can see we're over 5.9 million in 2019 numbers there. So let's go to the next slide. And then some of the other numbers that are pulled really are associated with learning and specifically arts education. So you'll see here a number of field trips is steadily climbing and quite up when you look at it from 2017 all the way to 2019. And then additionally, the other numbers are quite up in terms of the number of children served in schools. So that's a pretty big jump from fiscal year 2017 to 2019 in terms of service. And again, this is within the school system, organizations working within the schools. And I think there are a number of organizations that are really dedicated to that. And I think that they've been continually broadening their scope in the schools that they serve. So that may be the reason why there's such a big jump in that number as well. So these are just some of the numbers that have been pulled from data arts profiles for 2019. These numbers, along with the arts impact map, the heat map, as you know, that will be coming out as well. So that will just create a different type of richness and reach out to see where these organizations have really been serving. So that will again be available in February, and we're really excited about being able to launch that. So happy to answer any questions. If there's any questions I can answer regarding the data points.
I do have one question, Christine. I know we have talked, and when we were talking about the equity and inclusivity movement, moving away from data arts, and I hope that as we look at making the process more equitable, making the grant apportionment a much more easy process. I do hope that we don't move away from data arts only because of the ability to see these kinds of numbers. I mean, these are just fantastic data points that we can use to tell our city council members, look at it. We serve 500,000 kids in school in 1 year, 2,200 field trips, 5.9 million attendees on a city of 1.2, 1.3 million. That's huge. Those are exciting numbers. So I know I'm the only nerd that likes data arts. I may be one of 3 people in all of San Diego County who loves this program with all his soul, but I do hope that it is not lost on the sector that these kinds of data points are extremely helpful. They're a pain to get. I get it. I filled this out myself. It is a pain and time consuming. And maybe there are levels that of how much data we need from different size organizations. But this kind of raw numbers and taking it back to city council, I think is extremely important.
Thank you for that. Yeah, these numbers are very important for many different reasons, including just communication and advocacy. So we're exploring different ways to get these numbers, and if they're, whether it's data arts or something else, we're going to continue to provide these numbers because we understand the power of numbers and the importance of these as well.
Tyler, I do appreciate your enthusiasm. There's a couple, firstly, remember this is only OSP. We don't apply this to CCSD. CCSD has some of the biggest numbers when you talk about impact.
Yeah.
Street
so
fair, geez.
5 million, when you think about just Pride alone, you add Pride numbers to the 5 million, you're at 7 million. So, and we do that only because data art is so difficult. We don't ask our CCSD applicants. So I can promise that we're not going to jettison data arts without finding a replacement that is as robust, if not more so. But we really would like to find a different tool that is just frankly easier for the applicants.
Well, and I would add, tell the entire story, as you indicated, right? So we're only telling some of the story right now.
And you know, this is me just being pie in the sky. Maybe this is better for next week when we do the retreat. But you know, my day job, I'm a financial advisor, and one of the things I love, I'm one of the nerds who likes the IRS website. I like the IRS. They've got great data, and I have found that the 1040EZ, that form, which has boiled down something very complex, which is everybody's taxes. It boiled it down to something very, very simple. And if we can find the arts equivalent of the 1040EZ, that's the goal. And I don't know if that's something we develop on our own or we find that, you know, weird consultancy that has that mindset. But if there's a way we can do it and make it much easier for our constituency, so we can include CCSD numbers, because yeah, Pride should be in here. We fund Pride. Pride should totally be in these numbers. And then we can make the case to every single city council member, every city constituent in the city. This is a sector that moves our city forward. This is something highly important and should be funded just as vital as any other department. So soapbox put away. Thank you very much, Christine. This is, I love these kind of numbers. They are the reason I get so excited about this work.
Other comment, Tyler, is because this is so critical to tracking the field, I also think bringing it to the conversation next week would make great sense.
Yeah, if we can include this as part of the agenda next week, I would love to see that. If it's part of the advocacy report, I highly recommend it.
I agree.
All right. Any other, anything else in your report, Jonathan or Christine?
No, this morning, that's just the data.
Cool. Any other comments from my fellow commissioners?
No.
Well, with that, I'm going to call this meeting to a close. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your Friday.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see
You all
you.
do the same. Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Bye all.
Bye all.